The acquisition. The auction hall on Valaris Station reeked of desperation and greed. Captain Nora Vale leaned against a corroded support beam in the back, watching the proceedings through narrowed eyes. She hadn't planned to attend, her crew was waiting at their ship, the Horizon Chaser, with supplies already loaded, but something had drawn her to this seedy corner of the station. "Final lot of the evening," announced the auctioneer, a wiry man with cybernetic implants crawling across his left temple. "Something special for our distinguished guests." Nora snorted. There was nothing distinguished about this crowd, smugglers, mercenaries, and various shadowy figures whose business was best left unquestioned. She was about to leave when the final merchandise was dragged onto the stage. The captive had skin the color of polished jade with intricate patterns that seemed to shift beneath the surface. Long silver-white hair cascaded down their back despite the grime and mistreatment evident in their appearance. But it was the eyes that caught Nora's attention, vibrant amber with vertical pupils, blazing with unconcealed hatred. "A Sylphian," the auctioneer proclaimed proudly. "One of the last from the Althean system. Captured during the raid on Valoris Prime. Exceedingly rare and," he paused for effect, "potentially trainable for the right master." The crowd laughed appreciatively, but Nora noticed how the captive's shoulders tensed at the word master. The Sylphian wore restraints designed to suppress their natural abilities, whatever those might be. Nora had only heard stories about the mysterious race from the distant Althean system. "Starting bid is 5,000 credits, the auctioneer announced. A corpulent merchant from the mining consortium stepped forward. "Let me examine the merchandise first," he demanded, reaching toward the Sylphian's face with pudgy fingers. What happened next sent ripples of shock through the audience. The Sylphian lunged forward with unexpected speed, the restraints apparently not as effective as advertised. Sharp teeth sank into the merchant's hand, drawing blood and a howl of pain. "My finger. It bit off my finger." The merchant staggered back, dark purple blood spurting from his maimed hand. The auctioneer slammed an electrified baton into the Sylphian's side, sending them crashing to the floor. "My apologies," he said smoothly, though his face had darkened with rage. "This one clearly requires additional conditioning." "It's not worth a single credit," someone shouted from the crowd. The auctioneer's smile became cruel. "Perhaps you're right. Maybe it would better serve as entertainment in the combat pits." He snapped his fingers, and two guards moved toward the fallen captive. 10,000 credits, Nora heard herself say, stepping forward. The words had left her mouth before she'd consciously decided to speak. The room fell silent. The auctioneer blinked rapidly, his cybernetic implants flashing red. "What did you say?" "I said 10,000 credits, Nora repeated, approaching the stage. "That's twice your asking price. The item is obviously defective, but I'm feeling generous." The auctioneer's face contorted with barely contained fury. He'd clearly been looking forward to punishment. "The merchandise has proven dangerous." "Station auction laws are clear," Nora interrupted. "I made a valid bid. No one's countering. The transaction is legal and binding." She tossed a credit chip onto the stage. "Unless you want me to call station security about your violation of commerce regulations." They both knew station security could be bought for less than the contents of a liquid breakfast, but auction laws were sacred even in lawless outposts. Breaking them would destroy the auctioneer's already questionable reputation. "Fine," he spat. "Take the savage. Don't come crying when it slits your throat while you sleep." Nora approached as the guards roughly hauled the Sylphian to their feet. Up close, she could see the intricate patterns across their skin were actually tiny scales that caught the light when they moved. The captive's amber eyes met hers directly, burning with defiance rather than gratitude. "You might as well kill me now," the Sylphian said, their voice unexpectedly melodic despite the venom in their words. "I'll never be your pet or plaything." Nora raised an eyebrow. "Do I look like someone who keeps pets?" She gestured toward the exit. "I need someone to help maintain my engines." My mechanic died last month, and my crew is useless with the finer calibrations. The Sylphian blinked, clearly not expecting that response. You expect me to believe that? Believe what you want, Nora shrugged. But I'm your ticket off this station, unless you prefer the combat pits. She turned to the auctioneer. Control chip. The man thrust a small device into her hand. Collar controls, shock, track, terminate. I suggest using all three frequently. Nora pocketed the device without looking at it and motioned for the Sylphian to follow. As they walked through the crowded marketplace, she could feel dozens of eyes tracking their movement. You have a name? She asked without turning around. There was a long pause before the answer came. Zephyr. Nora Vale. Captain of the Horizon Chaser. She stopped at a vendor and purchased a hooded cloak, tossing it backward. Put this on. Valaris isn't known for hospitality to your kind. Zephyr caught the garment but made no move to don it. Why did you buy me? Nora turned, studying the Sylphian's face. The truth was, she wasn't entirely sure herself. Perhaps it was the defiance in those amber eyes, or maybe she was getting soft in her advancing years. Let's just say I've been where you are, she finally replied. Different auction, same situation. She gestured to a thin scar circling her own neck. Now put on the damn cloak before someone decides to claim what they think I own. Zephyr hesitated before wrapping the cloak around their shoulders. I am not yours, they said quietly. I am not anyone's. Fair enough, Nora nodded. But until we're off this rock, it might be safer if others think differently. They continued toward the docking bay in uncomfortable silence. Nora mentally rehearsed how she would explain this impulsive purchase to her crew. They weren't going to be happy, hell, she wasn't sure she was happy about it. But something about the fierce determination in Zephyr's eyes made her unable to regret her decision. At least, not yet. As they reached a narrow corridor leading to the lower docking bays, Zephyr suddenly bolted. One moment they were walking beside Nora, the next they were sprinting away, silver hair streaming behind them like a comet's tail. Damn it, Nora muttered, breaking into a run. She weaved through startled station dwellers, keeping the flash of silver hair in sight. Zephyr was fast, faster than anticipated, but Nora knew Valaris station better. She cut through a maintenance tunnel, emerging ahead of the fleeing Sylphian. Zephyr skidded to a halt, eyes widening at the captain's sudden appearance. Impressive, Nora said, not even winded. But futile. The station has exactly 6 exits, all heavily guarded. Without proper credentials, you won't make it 10 steps before being detained. She spread her hands. I'm offering you passage off this rock. Food, safety. In exchange for your skills. And what skills do you think I have? Zephyr challenged. Sylphians are known for their affinity with energy systems, Nora replied. My ship needs that expertise. Something in her tone made Zephyr hesitate. In that moment of indecision, a commotion erupted behind them. 3 armed figures emerged from the crowds, weapons drawn. That's them, shouted one, a scarred human with a nasty-looking pulse rifle. The consortium wants its property back. Nora drew her sidearm in one fluid motion. I paid good money for this particular property, she called back. Take it up with the auctioneer. The price just went up, the man sneered. Hand over the Sylphian now, and we might let you live. Nora fired without warning, her shot striking the wall beside the leader's head. Next one goes between your eyes, she promised. Now back off. Instead of retreating, all 3 opened fire. Nora shoved Zephyr behind a cargo container, returning fire from cover. Friends of yours? She asked dryly. The mining consortium doesn't appreciate losing valuable assets, Zephyr replied, wincing as energy bolts struck their shelter. Nora reached into her jacket, producing a second blaster which she offered to Zephyr. Can you shoot? The Sylphian took the weapon, examining it briefly. Point and discharge. Primitive, but effective. In one smooth motion, Zephyr leaned out from cover and fired 3 rapid shots. 2 found their marks, dropping bounty hunters to the deck. Nora stared in surprise. Not bad for a captive. I wasn't always a captive, Zephyr replied grimly. The remaining hunter called for backup as he retreated. Nora grabbed Zephyr's arm. Time to go. My ship's at docking bay 16. They ran through service corridors, the sounds of pursuit growing behind them. When they finally reached the Horizon Chaser, Nora's first officer, a tall, blue-skinned Navarian, was waiting at the ramp. Captain, we have a problem, he began, then noticed Zephyr. What in the 7 hells is that? Our new engineer, Nora replied, ushering Zephyr up the ramp. And we've got company coming. Prep for immediate departure, Jorik. A Sylphian? Jorik hissed, forearms tensing in alarm. Have you lost your mind? Probably, Nora admitted. But right now, we need to leave. Explanations later. As the ship's engines rumbled to life, Nora led Zephyr to the bridge. The rest of her small crew, a motley collection of species from across the galaxy, stared openly at the newcomer. Everyone, this is Zephyr, Nora announced. Our new engineer. Captain, a reptilian crew member named Dravex rasped, there's a consortium cruiser moving to blockade the station. On the view screen, a massive vessel was indeed positioning itself to prevent departures. Nora cursed under her breath. Can we outrun it? She asked. Not likely, Jorik replied. Their weapons will lock onto us before we can reach jump distance. Zephyr stepped forward, studying the ship's systems. Your engine configuration is inefficient, they stated matter-of-factly. I can increase your output by 30%. The crew exchanged skeptical glances. Now would be good, Nora prompted. Without another word, Zephyr moved to an engineering console, fingers dancing across the controls with surprising familiarity. The ship's hum deepened, vibrations lessening as power readings suddenly spiked. What did you do? Jorik demanded. Realigned your matter-antimatter flow, Zephyr replied. Elementary adjustment. Nora grinned. Full thrust, Jorik. Let's see what she can do. The Horizon Chaser shot from the docking bay like a bullet, accelerating faster than it ever had before. The consortium cruiser fired, but their shots fell short as Nora's ship rapidly outpaced their targeting systems. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Jorik counted down. The stars stretched into lines, and they vanished into hyperspace, leaving Valaris Station and their pursuers far behind. Not bad, Nora said, turning to Zephyr with newfound respect. Seems I got my money's worth after all. The Sylphian's amber eyes met hers, still defiant but with something new, a glimmer of cautious hope. This changes nothing, they said softly. I'm still not yours. Nora smiled. No, she agreed. But maybe, with time, you could be part of my crew. As the Horizon Chaser raced through hyperspace toward uncertain futures, Nora couldn't help wondering what other surprises her impulsive purchase might reveal. And why so many were willing to kill for one lone Sylphian. The Alliance. The Horizon Chaser emerged from hyperspace into the asteroid belt of the Callisto system, a forgotten corner of space far from established trade routes. Perfect for a ship with unwanted attention. Nora studied Zephyr from across the bridge as the Sylphian worked at the engineering console, entirely absorbed in the ship's systems. After 2 days aboard, the mysterious alien had spoken little but worked constantly, making adjustments that had the Horizon running better than it had in years. Captain, a word. Jorik stood in the doorway, his 4 arms crossed in a posture Nora recognized as trouble. She followed her first officer to the galley where most of the crew had gathered. Their expressions ranged from concern to openly hostile. This is about our new engineer, Nora said, not bothering to phrase it as a question. Dravex, the reptilian security officer, stepped forward. The Sylphian is dangerous, Captain. The mining consortium has just posted a bounty, 200,000 credits. For a runaway slave? Nora frowned. That's excessive. Which means there's more to this than we know, added Telex, a diminutive humanoid with 6 eyes arranged in a circle around her head. As the ship's information specialist, she rarely spoke without certainty. I've been researching. Sylphians aren't just rare, they're practically extinct. After the Valoris Prime incident, the remaining few became highly prized for their unique abilities. What abilities exactly? Nora asked. They can manipulate energy at the quantum level, Telex explained. The most skilled can interface directly with technology, restructure energy fields, even absorb and redirect massive power surges. Which explains why the consortium wants this one back so badly, Jorik interjected. They use Sylphians to stabilize their planet cracker mining operations. Nora's jaw tightened. Planet crackers were technically legal but universally condemned for their environmental devastation. So they're slaves. Valuable tools, Dravex corrected, earning a sharp look from the captain. The point is, Jorik continued, keeping this Sylphian puts us all at risk. The consortium doesn't forgive, and they don't forget. Nora leaned against the galley counter. So you want me to what? Return Zephyr? Collect the bounty myself? It would be the sensible option, Dravex admitted. Since when has this crew done the sensible thing? Came a new voice. Zephyr stood in the doorway, amber eyes taking in the gathered crew. If you're going to discuss my fate, at least include me in the conversation. The crew shifted uncomfortably. Nora straightened. How much did you hear? Enough to know your crew wants to sell me back to slavery. There was no accusation in Zephyr's tone, only a weary acceptance that made something twist in Nora's chest. No one's selling anyone, Nora declared. Not while I'm captain. Even if it means putting your ship and crew at risk. Zephyr challenged. Before Nora could answer, the ship's alarms blared. Jorik rushed to a nearby terminal. Proximity alert. Unidentified vessel just dropped out of hyperspace, consortium signatures. How the hell did they find us? Nora demanded, already moving toward the bridge. They must have planted a tracker during the firefight at the station, Telex suggested, following quickly. On the bridge, the view screen showed a massive consortium cruiser bearing down on them, twice the size of the one at Valoris station. Shields up, evasive maneuvers. Nora ordered, dropping into the captain's chair. Dravex, weapons online. The horizon shuddered as the cruiser fired a warning shot across their bow. They're hailing us, Telex reported. On screen, Nora nodded. The face that appeared belonged to a human with glacial blue eyes and a perfectly manicured beard. He wore the insignia of a consortium executive. Captain Vale, he said smoothly. I am Director Thorne of the mining consortium. You have something that belongs to us. I purchased my engineer legally at auction, Nora replied evenly. The transaction was binding. Thorne's smile didn't reach his eyes. The auction was unauthorized. That particular asset is critical to consortium operations. Return it immediately, and we'll compensate you generously, double what you paid. And if I refuse? Then I'll take what's mine and leave nothing but floating debris. The threat was delivered with the same pleasant tone one might use to discuss the weather. Nora glanced at Zephyr, who had gone completely still. The patterns on the Sylphian's skin had darkened, pulsing subtly with an inner light. Give me a moment to consider your generous offer, Nora stalled, signaling Telex to cut the transmission. Captain, we cannot outrun or outgun that cruiser, Jorik warned. There's another option, Zephyr said quietly. All eyes turned to the Sylphian. I can destroy their ship. A shocked silence fell over the bridge. How? Nora finally asked. By doing what they enslaved me to do, Zephyr replied. Manipulate energy. But at this distance, I'll need direct access to your engine core. Jorik shook his head violently. Absolutely not. No one accesses the core directly, it's suicide. It's our only chance, Zephyr insisted. I can channel the energy through myself, create a focused pulse that will overload their shields and disrupt their power systems. And what happens to you? Nora asked, studying the Sylphian closely. Zephyr hesitated. Best case. Severe exhaustion. Worst case. My body might not survive the energy transfer. No, Nora said firmly. We're not sacrificing anyone. Then you'll all die, Zephyr stated flatly. Director Thorn doesn't make empty threats. As if to emphasize the point, the ship rocked violently as another shot struck closer to their hull. Shields at 60%. Dravex reported. They're not playing around, Captain. Nora held Zephyr's gaze. You don't owe us this. Maybe not, the Sylphian acknowledged. But I choose it anyway. After a moment of internal struggle, Nora nodded. Jorik, take Zephyr to the engine core. Everyone else, battle stations. As they left the bridge, Nora reopened communications with the consortium vessel. Director Thorn, I believe we can come to an arrangement. A wise decision, Captain. I just need 10 minutes to secure the asset for transfer. Thorn's eyes narrowed. You have 5. Not 1 second more. The transmission ended, and Nora immediately activated the internal comm. Jorik, status. We're at the core, came her first officer's tense reply. Captain, what the Sylphian is attempting. I've never seen anything like it. Can it work? Theoretically, but the energy required would kill most species instantly. Nora made her decision. Do it. And Jorik? Keep Zephyr safe. In the engine room, Zephyr stood before the swirling energy of the ship's core, protected only by a containment field. The Sylphian's skin was glowing now, the patterns shimmering with increasing brightness. Are you sure about this? Jorik asked, genuine concern replacing his previous suspicion. Zephyr turned to him with a faint smile. No. But sometimes the right choice is also the hardest. The Sylphian pressed their palms against the containment field. Instead of stopping at the barrier, their hands passed through, directly into the swirling energy. Zephyr's body arched as power surged through them, scales blazing with incandescent light that spread up their arms, across their chest, and throughout their entire form. On the bridge, Nora watched the consortium cruiser on the view screen. Weapons locked, Dravex reported. But our conventional armaments won't penetrate their shields. We're not using conventional weapons, Nora replied, gripping the arms of her chair. Telex, divert all non-essential power to the engine core. The lights dimmed across the ship as energy redirected. A moment later, the deck began to vibrate beneath their feet, a deep resonating hum that grew in intensity until it seemed to permeate every molecule of the ship. What's happening? Dravex demanded, looking around nervously. Something amazing, Nora murmured. In the engine room, Zephyr had become a conduit of pure energy, their physical form barely visible beneath the brilliant light. The Sylphian's consciousness expanded, flowing through the ship's systems, feeling every circuit, every power relay. They could sense the massive cruiser ahead, its energy signature like a beacon. With deliberate precision, Zephyr gathered the horizon's power, compressing it, focusing it into a coherent wave. The effort was excruciating, like forcing an ocean through a pinhole, but the Sylphian persisted, drawing upon reserves they hadn't known they possessed. On the bridge, alarms blared as sensors overloaded. Energy surge detected. Telex reported. It's coming from us. A beam of concentrated energy erupted from the horizon chaser, striking the consortium cruiser with pinpoint accuracy. The larger ship's shields flared brilliantly against the assault before collapsing entirely. Secondary explosions bloomed across its hull as the energy pulse penetrated critical systems. Their weapons are offline, Dravex announced in disbelief. Power systems failing across the board. Get us out of here, Nora ordered. Maximum burn. The Horizon lurched forward, engines straining as they accelerated away from the disabled cruiser. Behind them, the consortium vessel drifted helplessly, emergency systems barely functioning. Engine core power levels returning to normal, Telex reported. Whatever happened, it worked. Nora was already racing toward the engine room, heart pounding with fear and something else, hope, perhaps. She found Jorik kneeling beside Zephyr's collapsed form. The Sylphian's skin had dimmed to an ashen gray, the vibrant patterns almost completely faded. Are they? Nora couldn't finish the question. Alive, barely, Jorik confirmed. I've never seen anything like it, Captain. They channeled enough energy to power a small city. Together they carried Zephyr to the medical bay. The ship's automated systems began treatment, but there was little in the database about Sylphian physiology. Will they recover? Nora asked, not caring how the concern in her voice might sound to her first officer. Unknown, Jorik admitted. But they saved us all. I was wrong about them. Nora remained by Zephyr's side as the Horizon raced through space, putting distance between themselves and the consortium. Hours passed with no change in the Sylphians' condition. The rest of the crew stopped by one, offering words of thanks or respect for their unconscious savior. It was near the ship's artificial midnight when Zephyr's eyes finally flickered open, finding Nora dozing in a chair nearby. Captain, the Sylphian whispered, voice barely audible. Nora jerked awake, relief flooding her features. You're alive. Disappointed? Zephyr attempted a weak smile. Quite the opposite. Nora moved closer, taking one of Zephyr's hands. The skin was cool to the touch, but the patterns were slowly brightening again. You saved my ship, my crew. Why? Zephyr was silent for a moment, considering. For so long, my abilities were only used to destroy, cracking planets, harvesting resources without care for the consequences. This was the first time I chose how to use my power. Their amber eyes met Nora's. It felt right. Nora squeezed the Sylphian's hand gently. The consortium will come after you again. Us, Zephyr corrected. They'll come after us now. Then we'll be ready, Nora promised. Together. A week later, the Horizon Chaser docked at Outpost Omega, a frontier station outside consortium influence. The crew disembarked for supplies and much-needed shore leave, with significantly less grumbling about their newest member. Zephyr had fully recovered, their energy manipulation abilities apparently enhanced rather than diminished by the ordeal. Nora found a Sylphian at the ship's observation deck, watching distant stars. Credit for your thoughts, she asked, joining Zephyr at the viewport. I was thinking about freedom, Zephyr replied. What it truly means. And? Any conclusions? Freedom isn't just the absence of chains, the Sylphian said thoughtfully. It's the presence of choice. For the first time since I was captured, I'm making my own choices. Nora studied Zephyr's profile, admiring how the starlight played across their features. Including the choice to stay. Zephyr turned to face her, a genuine smile spreading across their face. The patterns on their skin pulsed gently, responding to emotions Nora was only beginning to understand. Yes, the Sylphian confirmed. If you'll have me. The position of ship's engineer is officially filled, Nora said with mock formality. Though I should warn you, the pay is terrible, the dangers are constant, and your captain is notoriously stubborn. I've noticed, Zephyr's smile deepened. But there are compensations. The air between them changed, charged with possibilities neither had allowed themselves to consider until now. Nora stepped closer, drawn by something more powerful than gravity. Such as, she asked, her voice low. In answer, Zephyr reached out, tracing the line of Nora's jaw with cool fingers. Where they touched, a pleasant tingling sensation followed, a controlled energy transfer that sent shivers down the captain's spine. Interesting compensation package, Nora murmured. That's just the beginning, Zephyr promised. As their lips met, the patterns across Zephyr's skin brightened to a brilliant glow that rivaled the stars beyond the viewport. Neither noticed Jorik peeking in, then quietly backing away with 4 hands raised in a universal gesture of about time. Later, as they lay together in the captain's quarters, Nora traced the luminescent patterns on Zephyr's skin. These are beautiful. Do they always glow like this? Only when I'm experiencing intense emotions, the Sylphian admitted, a deeper green tinge coloring their cheeks. Nora smiled. Good to know. Zephyr grew serious. The consortium won't stop hunting us. Director Thorne especially, he considers me his personal property. Let them come, Nora said with quiet confidence. We have something they don't. What's that? A reason to fight that's worth dying for. She pressed a kiss to Zephyr's forehead. But more importantly, one that's worth living for. As the Horizon Chaser drifted among the stars, its captain and the once captive Sylphian found something neither had expected, not just freedom from their pasts, but the promise of a future, together, by choice rather than circumstance. And for the first time in a very long time, both allowed themselves to hope. Aboard the damaged consortium cruiser, Director Thorne watched the medical team tend to his injuries. The energy pulse had nearly killed him, but his survival was a testament to his enhancements, and his rage. Status report, he demanded. His second-in-command appeared hesitant. The Sylphian displayed power levels beyond anything we've recorded, sir. Our engineers believe they may be an Alpha-class energy manipulator. The legends were true then, Thorne mused, a cold smile spreading across his face. All the more reason to recapture it. The Sylphian is no longer just an asset, it's a weapon. And I want it back. He activated a communication panel. Put out the word to every bounty hunter and mercenary in the sector. 5 million credits for Captain Nora Vale and her crew, alive. And 10 million for the Sylphian, unharmed. As the order went out, Thorne stared at the star chart where the Horizon Chaser had last been tracked. Run as far as you like, Captain. Some things are simply too valuable to let go.